Привет всем! Сегодня с вами She Leads Everything, а по-русски она может все. С вами Таня.
И меня зовут Надя. Сегодня мы продолжаем серию интервью с успешными женщинами. В их историях мы черпаем вдохновение. Они являются для нас образцами мотивации. Ну зачем ты меня перебила?
Я тебя не перебивала. Не обращайте внимания, это палец правды.
Ну все, давай, все. Не твои, потому что я ошиблась, чем ты хочешь закончить.
Хочу тыкнуть тебя этим пальцем.
Ну ладно, давай.
Ну вот, короче говоря,
давай еще
мы
раз.
сегодня встречались с Тори. Расскажи про нашу сегодняшнюю гостью.
Сегодняшняя гостья – это Tori Dixon-Whittle. Она уроженка Австралии. За свою жизнь она сменила очень много ролей. Она была актрисой долгое время, она художник. Она была менеджером своего мужа, художника. Она буквально недавно получила статус Ironman дистанции 70.3, которая включала в себя плавание в открытой воде, велосипедные гонки и бег. Мы узнаем о ней, о том, как нужно идти за своей мечтой, ставить себе иногда невыполнимые цели, и потом, несмотря ни на что, ни на внутренний голос, который говорит о том, что ничего не получится, ни на осуждение окружающих, идти к своей цели за лучшей жизнью.
Подписывайтесь на наш канал, оставляйте комментарии под видео. Мы когда видим комментарии, нам очень приятно, мы понимаем, что мы делаем все не зря.
Лайкайте это видео, если вы думаете, что оно стало полезным для вас. Итак, отправляемся на встречу с Тори, узнаем, как женщина может ставить себе цели и достигать их без ущерба для семьи, и где брать ресурсы для собственного вдохновения.
Погнали!
Okay, so I think that we need to start with saying thank you to your participation for your time. So thank you to take a part in our project, She Leads Everything. As far as you know, our main aim is to empower women in their daily life. So, and I know, Tori, that you are very good at many things. So the person like you can be called as a multi-potentialite. So maybe you can introduce yourself and tell our viewers what are you doing and what is the wide range of your activities that you're really pursuing.
Okay, well I have had a very varied career, that's true. When I left school, I studied science at university, so physics, chemistry, maths and computer science, because I really was passionate about science. I do really like to understand how things work, but I realised after a year of science that although I was really passionate about these subjects, I didn't want to be a scientist per se, so I moved into economics, had a year of economics, and then also found that I didn't really connect with that. I found it too lacking in consideration for the human element. You know, these economic equations that somehow didn't account for the fact that human beings are the people that work and produce and buy and sell, but that seemed to be removed from any theory. So then I moved into anthropology and languages and really love that. So I do have a fascination. I think there's a theme that goes through it, and that is that I really like to understand how things work, whether it be human beings or nature, society, etc. And in conjunction with that, I have been an actor for a long time. I love entering another world and taking people on a journey as well. So there's that sense of possibility in that. But actually in my last year of university, I got really sick and I didn't finish my degree. In fact, my lecturer said, "We're really sorry, we can't help you catch up, you're going to have to defer and come back next year." And I'm not very good at sitting around just waiting for time to pass. So I thought about what I would do during that time, and then a friend approached me and my partner at the time and said, "I bought a building, I think you guys should rent it from us." And he had seen what David and I had done with another building that we'd rented. We decorated it, painted it, I dug up a car park and planted a beautiful garden. And, so he cleverly knew that if we rented his place, we would probably turn it into something. And I went there and thought, this would be a fantastic cafe. And I loved cooking for friends. We always had people around. I thought, there you go, that's the next thing that I can do. So I set up Tin Cat Cafe, it was called, and in fact Tin Cat Cafe was running for over 20 years after I started it up. It just recently closed because the building's been sold to a developer and it's been turned into apartments. But that was my first foray into business, and a big steep learning curve. I loved it. It was very challenging. After 2 years I sold it and took a big deep breath, because when you run a cafe, really you're on call all the time. Yes. And I then though had the taste for business, and so rather than going back to university, I then got into real estate. So I bought a very, very rundown property. In fact, the real estate agent didn't even want to walk in the front door. It was so demolished, stray cats living in it and ceilings falling down. But David, my partner at the time, and we fixed it up, and it ended up being in magazines and in an interiors book, so that was a wonderful thing. And so I did quite a lot of that, buying places and then fixing them up. I set up a homeware store, and I was designing and manufacturing homewares, ceramics and bed linen, manufacturing art supplies overseas, and manufacturing furniture out of Baltic, so in Eastern Europe, in Latvia and Lithuania, bringing that over. So I have done lots of different things. And then also, in conjunction with that, the father of my children is an artist. And for 17 years he and I were together, and I helped him with his work, running a studio, travelling overseas and setting up exhibitions. And then in 2010 we separated, and for me it was a real shock at the time. We had 3 children, and Arlo, my youngest, was not even 1. So I then had to think about what was next. Yes, what would I do with 3 children, needing to start a new career? And I really believe that every dark cloud has a silver lining, and in fact it's our job to find out what that is.
And how your idea was turned into the going abroad and settle in Vietnam.
Yes, I'd always loved travel. I had my student pilot's license when I was younger, and so this was actually always a desire that I had, to live overseas. But David has a very big fear of flying. He hasn't flown for over 40 years. So I thought maybe now I have the opportunity to do that. So I spoke to him and said, how would you feel if I took the kids and lived overseas? And he said, look, I really know that's something you want to do, so please go, you have my full blessing. So then it was, where do we go? And I studied French at university, so I had a dream that I wanted my kids to learn French, and I initially considered France. Then I had some very dear friends, the sort of friends that take you by the arm when you're having a tough time, and said, come on Tori, you need to go away, let's all go somewhere for a holiday. I said, I think that sounds like a really great idea. They said, we can organise it. I said, I'll pay my share. And so there was a surprise in it. Where will they pick? And they booked a trip to Hoi An and Da Nang. So we went there. This was 6 months after separation.
So they pick up literally this country on behalf of you?
They said this was a holiday for all of us. So their family and their kids, who were good friends with my kids, and me and my kids, and they said, okay, we're going to Da Nang and Hoi An. And we had, I can't remember how long, maybe 10 days. But in fact, it was the second time I'd been to Vietnam. So I'd been to Vietnam on a buying trip for a business that I had. And I loved it the first time, and the second time I got there and just thought, oh yeah, I really love this country. There's so many positive aspects, the fact that they've had such a challenging history, and yet they're not stuck in it. Very forward focused, yes? And it would be easy to be otherwise. And great food. I really love their values of being committed to community and family and working hard and believing in the power of education. And I thought, well, I can have a nanny. and that will make it easier for me to start a career. And also, it's a growing economy, so there are opportunities.
Right.
Yes. So
how is it connected to your company? That's
okay.
you
So then
founded.
That's right. I made the decision firstly to come here, and then 6 months later we came, and I had made the decision that for 6 months I would have a sabbatical. I would just we'd live very simply. So we came over here with 3 suitcases. That was it. Everything else went into storage, and we rented out our house. I bought a bicycle, and that was all. So I took the children to school on Seon, and I just took time to really look and learn and have thinking time too. I mean, coming out of a 17-year relationship, you don't necessarily know where you end and the partnership begins, which part is me, which part is that. So it was very cathartic to have everything away, everything in storage, and just have time to really consider. And I went out and talked with so many people, really tried to learn about what Vietnam was about, what was its essence, what was needed, where were they heading. And people kept saying to me, they really need leadership development and communication training. And I thought, well, I can do that. I've had lots of experience with business, and I had some coach training. Because again, I was saying to you, very interested in human nature and how people work, essentially. So then I made a commitment to that and started the process of setting that up as an official Vietnamese company. So that took quite some time to find the right lawyers, to put it together, the right structure. There are a lot of rules and regulations here, and I really wanted to do it properly. And then after that, TDW Consulting was formed, and we've been in operation now for over 5 years, and it has been an amazing journey.
But your style of life is really intensive, and it requires a lot of energy, and commitment and power. So, what would you say as the origin or the source of getting this endless power?
Wow, there's a lot of different ways I could answer that. Firstly, I mean, life has not always been like that for me. You know, I had a pretty challenging childhood. My father died when I was a baby. He actually took his own life. So he was manic depressive, and he, you know, in the letter that he wrote to my mum, he said he wanted a better life for her and me. And so that's been something that I've lived with my whole life. But what that also meant is that in the beginning years of my life, I didn't know how to handle emotion or challenge. It was almost like that was a certain legacy that I had to work through. So I think when you understand challenge, also, you know, the road, there's not always further you can go down. So moving up was the direction, and I always wanted to feel like his life was not in vain. You know, he didn't give his life in vain. And what else? I think really we've all been given one life. Although my children say to me, "How do you know, Mum? How do you know you've got one life? You don't know." I said, well, this is all I have at the moment. So we've got one life. What are we going to do with that? And I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, "Oh, if only." And I've read a lot about people who work with people at the end of their life, so palliative care, nurses, etc. And they say that the saddest thing is the regrets that people have. You know, they come to the end of their life and they don't regret the risks they took. They regret the things they didn't do.
Yeah. So we have to say that your inner desire to have a better life actually inspire your.
I think so. Forward. Yes, I think so. And also, you know, the world is in a crazy state right now. Yes. And I think we often feel powerless as to what it is that we can do. But I do think we can start with ourselves. Yes, and that, I mean, look at what you're doing here. This is wonderful. You're making a difference in people's lives. You don't know who will listen to this and how it will impact them. but you're
Yeah.
out there doing something, and
Right,
that's so
right.
fantastic. Yes. So I really feel if we're all making little impacts, or big impacts like this, then that's a great thing.
So making a difference is really your motto.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So you recently, I know that you recently gained a status of Ironman 70.3, right? Is it
That's
the
right.
name?
Yes,
So
exactly.
tell us a little bit about this experience. So,
Okay.
and I think that particularly what we are interested in to know, how did you start training,
Mm-hmm.
just from the scratch,
Yes.
and then how you stay active without any giving up
Okay.
for such a long time.
Okay, so Ironman 70.3 means doing a 1.9 kilometre open water swim in the ocean, then a 90k bike ride, and then a 21 kilometre run. So it's a big distance, yes.
Awesome.
And I started back in October when a friend of mine, actually a new friend, said to me, "Oh, I've signed up for this Ironman. Would you like to do it?" I laughed, like, ha ha. The most I've run is 10 kilometres. I've never owned a road bike. I haven't swum since I was a teenager, apart from recreational swimming. And she said, "Look, you've got over 6 months to train." I thought, why not? And again, a great woman and a couple of other great people who are doing it, and being in the company of interesting, inspiring people, I went, okay, I'll join you on that. So then it's a matter of actually making a commitment. So I put it on Facebook and said, I'm doing this, then there's no backing out.
Yes.
So I do think making a commitment and making a public commitment to anything is really important. And then I enlisted the support of anyone and everyone I knew. I just said, look, I know nothing, please send me your tips. And so people sent me so much information, it was really great. And I developed a training plan, I signed up for swim class, but it was, I think the challenge whenever you're reaching a goal is that the starting place, the goal can seem so exciting, and you can imagine yourself there. I can imagine myself crossing the finishing line, that's great, but then the actuality of it starts getting tough, and that's where people give up.
Yeah.
Yes, when they go, whoa, actually
And
this
so
is
what
harder than I
happens
thought.
in the middle of this journey?
In the middle, sort of the beginning, there is actually a chart, I should share it with you, of what happens, the cycle of commitment, that we start off excited about something, and then we'll you decide you want to start painting, or you want to take up photography or whatever. You get the gear, you can see it happening, your work published, all of this sort of thing, and then you get out and you realise actually you don't know that much, you're not as good as what you thought, and that tends to be where people quit. So knowing that and putting things in place to get over that hurdle is really important. So I enlisted friends' support. When I first started doing the swimming, I joined up for this masterclass, and I could hardly even make the end of the pool. 25 metres, I was like, oh my goodness, how can I possibly make that distance? So I spoke to people, I'm really exhausted after 25 metres. And someone said, get a coach. It may not be as bad as you think. It might just be your breathing. And so I did that, I found a coach, and she said, yes, you're doing everything wrong. Breathing, essentially holding my breath. So, and so I was keeping carbon dioxide in, that was exhausting me. So she taught me how to make it really natural. And then it was just a matter of practice. And it's a long goal. So you don't just go hard and burn yourself out. A lot of it is just about putting one foot in front of the other, gradually. And something that's really helped me with that is I learned Kung Fu. And I've been doing that for...
help you?
Kung Fu is a really interesting practice because, well, my teacher anyway teaches it where you just do the same thing over and over and over again. Have you seen Karate Kid?
Yeah, and you not get
You know,
bored.
I don't want to be the failure. Yes, I don't want to, if I quit now, then I'm the failure. That's it.
Yeah, but many people quit is because of things are getting boring. Over and over doing the same things.
Totally. So that is the challenge.
How
I really
to keep
think
the
the
inspiration
mental,
and exciting.
It is. It is. So understanding, well, one thing I learned when I was doing the running training, particularly with the Ironman, is that your brain will tell you all the time to quit. Yes, it's always saying, you're an idiot, what are you doing this to yourself for? This is, you know, da, da, da. And you have to learn to say, be quiet, I'm not listening to you. Yes, that's one of the biggest keys, I think, is that you have to know, one, that you're going to say that to yourself, or your brain's going to say it to yourself, and if you anticipate it and say, okay, I know you're going to do that, I know you're going to try and get me to quit, so you almost
you
do
fight
battle
with
with
your
yourself.
inner enemy.
Yeah, you do. So for me, with coming back to the Ironman and the training, I just followed my kung fu practice of one foot in front of the other. You know, if you keep consistently just at it and at it, then you get there. But then the race itself, it's a really long distance. This took me 7 hours and 21 minutes, yeah? And then it really was that absolute mental practice of just saying, okay, the pain is temporary, just move your legs. But it was so, I've never felt anything like it actually, worse than childbirth, I have to say. But then, you've done it, and it's gone.
Magically.
Yeah,
Keep
it's
going
just,
and then-
it's just
yeah.
keep going. The thing is, if you just do that, it's just, don't think about it too much. Just keep going.
Yeah.
And then take the shoes off and go,
Relax.
well, then 21 kilometre run. But again, I think it's the trick of what you say to yourself the whole time. So I could on the bike go, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? This hurts so much, and now I still have to do a 21 kilometre run. But you choose to say things to yourself. Like I'd say, it's going to be so great to get these bike shoes off, and I can put my running shoes on, and my feet can spread out, and that will be so nice, and I'll be able to, you know, all of these things. So it's a choice of what you say to yourself to keep yourself going. I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm talking with a very strong woman. So what does really a term of strong woman mean for you?
Strong woman. Well, I think there are strong women and there are strong women. So there are strong women, I think, that don't really honour themselves or necessarily honour other people. I think really a true strong woman gets to know herself really well, and I know, I'm strong, yes, but also, I have my frailties and my vulnerabilities, but I know what they are, and I suppose what I do is I honour them or acknowledge them. There are some strong people who just suppress all of that. Yes, I'm not listening to those voices, whereas I will hear things and talk to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense, of course.
Yeah.
Make a ton of sense
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So, but like sometimes, or very often, so our people who are around us don't support
Yes.
our kind of like our plans.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things that makes women laying back,
Yes.
right, and not pursuing their personal goals. So do you know any recipe of the success, how to really overcome some barriers, especially social barriers on the way?
Very much. I'm a great believer in reframing. So again, that's probably a little bit what I was describing when I'm talking about getting the bike shoes off. So you can look at it one way and say, oh my gosh, this is a disaster, my feet really hurt, I'm never going to be able to run. Or you can say, oh, this is great because it hurts so much now, it's going to feel so great when the shoes come off. Yes? And I think that with almost every challenge that I face, first feel it. Things hit you and it can really hurt sometimes, it really knocks you down. Okay, all right, take a breath. Now, what's the good in this? What's the good in this? And I've had plenty of people say, oh, you can't do that, or you're crazy for doing that. What are you doing taking your 3 children over to Vietnam? You're taking them away from their family, or so many things with the work that I've done, people not understanding what it is that I want to do. But I think you have to, really have a clear vision of what it is that you want to achieve, who it is you want to be, what sort of life you want to live. And then understand that when people put that up, that's a good thing because it forces you to get really clear. Okay, if I can explain to them why I'm doing it, then I'm also explaining to me. Yes? Or if people are saying to me, if people are ignoring me, then I have to get to a point where I'm developing myself to a point they want to listen. Yeah? Or maybe this is actually telling me that I need to sit back and it's my time to learn. Yeah? So I've been in many professional situations where I've had, backs turned to me, and I think, okay, right, each time you turn your back to me, it's just going to make me more determined.
Yeah. Right.
So there's always a positive, and I do believe that challenges are really good for us. Yes. They really are. They teach us about ourselves, they teach us about the world, and I think that a lot of people get knocked down as well because of certain naivety. They say, oh, I'm going to go out and do this. Well, the world's a tough place. Yeah, it is a tough place. But that doesn't mean it's not a beautiful place, and it's not an exciting place or an interesting place. And in fact, if it weren't tough, it wouldn't be as satisfying.
Right.
Yeah?
So coming through this tough situations really make women stronger, right?
I think so.
And more confident about our, our traits.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I would ask the last questions.
Yes.
So my question would be related to the women's rights.
Mm-hmm.
So as for me, needless to say about that women should have equal rights with men, but we actually usually speak to the men who ask them, okay, what does it really bring to our life? So your women rights, equality, how it really make our life, our man life better?
Well, I think women have a huge amount to offer the world, and there have been lots of studies to show that we bring compassion and empathy and a sense of community, and we bring another perspective. I really respect the view that the men in my life have. I wouldn't want life to only be about women, but I think equally we have something to offer. It's not always the same. So for me, it's an enhancement of their life and our life if we can collaborate and work together.
Yeah, but it also the trick is that also very often men say that okay, we understand that we need to be equal, but why you have to say about these rights so loudly?
Well, when something hasn't been in place for a long time, you have to sometimes yell to, make up for lost time. I think that it is important to really have a voice and be heard. And if we were heard, then we wouldn't need to be so persistent or so loud as you put it. And in certain areas, in environments that I've worked at that are really equal and respectful, there isn't that essence of having to fight for things. But when things are imbalanced, yes, we have to bring out our muscle. So perhaps it's indicative of where we're at. The volumes, the decibels reflect the imbalance. And as things become more harmonious and more equal, then we don't have to shout as loud.
I like your idea about getting balance through their achieving the equality of their both gender rights. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Yeah. We really enjoy our conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and well done again. Such a great initiative.
Yeah, we like your voice. We like what you're saying, and we are really proud of you to make such enormous, incredible achievement.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ну вау, просто вау, как тебе интервью?
Вообще меня поразило, мы знали Тори, но я никогда не знала, что она такая классная. И я хочу сказать, что я вообще благодарна этому нашему проекту за то, что он позволяет нам встречаться с такими потрясающими, талантливыми, сильными, умными женщинами и узнавать их истории. И каждая история вдохновляет меня еще на большее свершение.
Я с тобой совершенно согласна, у меня такие же мысли.
Поэтому, если вы хотите следить за нами и видеть еще больше интересных историй про женщин, подписывайтесь на наш канал в YouTube, который называется She Leads Everything. До встречи в следующих выпусках.
Пока.